Another week in the books. Reminder that all content warnings are with the write-up on my website. First up this week was Lord of Gold and Glory. This is the second book in the Fae Isles series. As I said last week, I'm going to be reading books 1 through 4 by March 31st in honor of the release of the digital box set. I was gifted all 4 books by the author herself. I'm still loving the story a lot. I'm still really loving this magic system. We did delve deeper into it this time as the character is doing more training, this time both physical fighting and new elements of her magic. Unfortunately, I will say that this one was longer than it needed to be. There was a big lull in the beginning where all of the obstacles she was facing felt really forced and mostly like they were just added to increase the length of the book. Being over 500 pages, that really wasn't needed. It wasn't until almost halfway through that the story really started picking up again, but once it did, it really did, and I had a lot of fun with it. They're really getting deeper into the arc of the existing story now. Things are starting to pick up in that regard, and she solved a number of mysteries that were really big in the first book. I am looking at where they take it into the next book and the third one, which I will be covering next week. And because that was a longer book, the next thing I reached for was something very short and small. This is How to Fight by Thich, Nhat, Hanh. I've talked about a number of his books on here before. Honestly, I've been planning on doing a video of books to pick up if you've been in a reading slump or if you're trying to get over reading burnout, and his work is going to feature heavily in that. He has such an accessible writing style that makes things that feel very complicated and overwhelming when you first look at them turn to something much more simple and straightforward. The advice that's in this one is a little bit more specific than in most of the how-to series because this is specifically about interpersonal conflict, how to navigate it and how to avoid it when possible. But as always, it's advice that can be applied very, very widely and starting in very small steps as well. And as always, once I finished this one, I felt a lot lighter. I then picked up Clementine, which is another installment of the Clockwork Century series. I covered the first one, Bone Shaker, back in October. Now, this is technically not the second book. This is book 1.1. This is a much shorter interlude adventure that's less than half the length of most of the main staple books in the series. Because it is much shorter, it's not covering as much of the world building, it's not covering as much of the backstory, but you can remember all of that for the first book. And this is just condensed down into a distilled adventure of explosions and airship pirates and long distance chases throughout this world that she's created. One of our main characters is an airship pilot we've met before. We already have a fair deal of his backstory. Our other main character, unfortunately, I didn't feel we got quite enough of hers. I'm hoping she'll make more appearances in later novels because she does seem like a lot of fun, but right now I know who she is right now. I know her skill set, and I'm looking for a little bit more to give her more relatability. But this was a ton of fun, and I'm definitely going to be back for more of the Clockwork Century series. As always, there is a longer write-up of all of this available on my website at writing.hallidaynelson.com. I also want to hear what you are reading too. No matter how big my TBR pile gets, it's going to keep getting bigger, so I want to know what you are having fun with so I can put it on that list. Happy reading.